All right, bring on the steam. Yeah, I caught that. Who told me that? Was that Thomas? Or no, Foxby 2? No, Thomas. Anyway, yeah, the steam is here. I'm bringing the steam, baby. I'm bringing the heat. Good morning. Happy whatever day it is, Tuesday. And we're going to talk a little bit about, well, here's the theme today, if you haven't caught it already. As I was thinking about this morning, what I was going to do and what I was going to, or actually last night, I find it really, really interesting that there are suddenly a bunch of the tax the rich, corporations are bad, corporations, they're nothing but evil. Some of the same people who say that kind of stuff, all of a sudden they are cheerleading the idea that corporations should have the power to determine whether or not you are able to speak your mind, whether you're able to pay for something using their services, whether or not you can use an Airbnb, whether or not you're allowed to function in our society. And we have these, I was thinking about it, how it works right now. So you've got your politicians who can't make laws limiting what you say, but they can petition a multi-billion-dollar corporation and its chair to limit what you say, or at least on the largest forms of communication that we have in our society right now. And so it's a workaround. It's a workaround to the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law. Oh, well, we'll just have this corporation shut you out, where everyone else is allowed to communicate unless you're communicating the wrong things. And there's a name for that. There's a name for when the government and corporations team up to control the people. And the father of that movement described it as exactly that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. That's the topic of the day. Real quick, thank you. This is Kyle. First donation of the day. And Kyle,
you are the new Streamlabs Superstar Donor of the Day.
Well, that was terrible. Let's try that again.
You are the new Streamlabs Superstar Donor of the Day.
Anyway, let's real quick. Let's see. And thank you for that, Kyle. On that note, I'm going to play the intro. Play the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, Dawg Knight. All right, stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as PDawgKnight on the internet, and perhaps as a former Parler user. We'll see if this platform stays up, because apparently there was a hack on, not a hack, but a data download. I don't know. They took something from Parler and have apparently archived a lot of video from Parler that has metadata on it. Now, I don't know that I've ever downloaded anything to Parler directly, so it may not affect me. I don't know. But yeah, that platform's down for a while because, again, the top big tech corporate oligarchs decided that, oh, there's too many people going there that have wrong opinions. Now I pride myself on having all the wrong opinions. Excuse me. Well, maybe not all of them, because, you know, not everyone agrees with me all the time. But anyway, yeah, this whole thing with the I didn't finish my thought on the last part though. So you get politicians, and they can't write laws that can shut down what you say and what you do, but they can ask the corporate behemoths to do that, the techno oligarchs. But then the way they decide how to decide what is right, what they do is they'll make up some self-perpetuating grievance grifter organization and give it a name like the benevolent arbiters of what is right and good. And the benevolent arbiters of what is right and good will make up have a little website and have some pissant, have a handle called, hate binoculars, and then that guy will just run around and talk about which people, run around all over the internet and tell people which people have hate speech and all that shit. And so I don't know. It's and then anything that is, on one side of the political spectrum, that's allowed, and then not everything on the other side of the political spectrum is no longer allowed. And then, then they do their thing and get the corporations to say, well, you know what, if you can make your own platform, but then we're going to kick you off our servers, and then when you make your own servers, we're going to still, take the donate, we're going to put a domain name restriction on you, and then when you find a way to host your own domain name in some other country, then they're let's just say they're evil efforts. I'm gonna try to not swear in the first half hour here. I just went through my some of my old videos on my back end studio on YouTube, and realized that several of them went from green dollar signs, meaning they're monetized, to restricted monetization. I haven't had any. I've only had 2 that have been completely demonetized, but I noticed it's now I had when I first started being monetized, all of for 3 weeks everything was the little yellow sign, right? And then I finally started getting green signs, and for the last few weeks they've all been green all the way to the top, so they're fully monetized. And then all of a sudden I just noticed yesterday, I went back and looked in there and oh, about 7 of these streams have gone down to that yellow status, restricted. And I was like, which one? So I'm looking at them one of the ones where I was talking about the election, which was, it was perfectly fine and completely reasonable. No, what do they say? What did the media say? No evidence of any type of shenanigans whatsoever. And, so anyway. All right, let's get to the topic of the day. But before I do that, I want to say good morning, everybody. But first, I want to do another donation. Thank you, X-Bubba Hotep and X-Bubba Hotep.
You are the new Streamlabs Superstar Donor of the Day.
Thank you so much for that special caliber 357. When EU leaders are going, whoa, what the F are you doing with this censorship? We have a serious problem. Oh, isn't that the truth? Yeah, Angela Merkel. Especially let's put it this way. Most of these years, hang on a second. Hang on. Let me pause for just a second. I'll be right back. There we go. When Angela Merkel says what the F and Macron and any of those European nations where they're actually kind of censorious, right? You got to wonder. And look, let's be honest. Let's be honest. None of those people give a shit about free speech. They're worried about corporations controlling what they say. They don't care about the people. They are concerned that that a corporation can cut their communication off on the biggest forms of communication in our current society. Now, if this was just, somehow, news stations were banning them from being on their stations or not doing interviews with them and stuff 20 years ago, that would have been the concern. But now the concern is that in the largest communication platforms in the world that are controlled by a handful of techno oligarchs, those companies have an inordinate amount of power over your communication. Real quick, thank you, GunFox61. GunFox61!
You are the new Streamlabs Superstar Donor of the Day.
With the in the 99s of 3A+, we're going to talk, look up HR 127. It's banning types of firearms, registrations, and ammo bans. Also, this reminds me of what that funny little man with the mustache did, and we all know where that went. Yeah, it is. Someone wrote a book called Liberal Fascism a long time ago, but look, again, the combination of government and corporations controlling what you do that's the definition of fascism. And a lot of these people who are cheering on the fact that, say, Donald Trump lost his Twitter account, or that they're fucking with Parler. I don't know if you know who Kevin Logan is, but he's just he's so engorged and is about ready to, explode all over his computer screen because, Parler got taken down. It's like, who's the real, who are the and he loves to call people fash. Oh, you're the fash. Who are the real fascists here? The real fascists are the ones who are excited about what's going on right now. I just got to tell you, they are. And they're under the name of incitement. By the way, the bill that Gunfox told you about, HR 127, it's amazing. You got to check that out. I have seen that, and I think it's dead on arrival. If that goes to the courts, it's DOA, I believe. Although you never know. All they need now is in theory, it's a 6-3 court, which shouldn't be. That should be that bill should be 9-0 shot down in the Supreme Court if it gets there. I can't imagine appeals court getting past an appeals court, but it's the type of stuff they're trying to do. And guess what? For example, you know how Amazon basically shut down Parler by not allowing them to use the AWS servers, which right now, is it like 90% of businesses go through AWS servers right now in the United States, at least? And so that's a monopoly. That's a monopoly on what kind of information you put out. Well, now, Google had some control over some online gun retailer or guns company, and they're disallowing them to do business on the Google platform. Google's like one of the main, like 3 or 4 platforms out there that you could do this kind of stuff. It is the corporate oligarchy, the techno oligarchs are taking over. All right, real quick, I got to say good morning because before I get too far into it, first in the chat is our friend Katie Did Skate, who gets the bell. Good morning, my friend. Also, good morning, Mike Savage, Blarg, Maddie, the news chicks in the house. Good morning, Rona in the background. Good morning, Tyler F., who I believe, did I see what I thought I saw there, Tyler F.? Yeah. Oh, well, not yet, but I know it'll happen. But anyway, good morning, Tyler F. Good morning, Gunfox61, who's already done a generous donation this morning. Also, CNN sucks. What's up, my man? It's been a while. The most redundant name on the internet, CNN sucks. Also, good morning to Your Ridiculous Lunatic. That is a name. Yes, it is. Also, Noble Valor. How you doing? Waiting for shit to hit the fan because some old fat politician is pushing for licensing to own guns and ban ammo. Yeah, it's ridiculous and it's going nowhere in the courts. Good morning, Thomas Cleaver, who says, sup, everyone. Also, good morning to Jen T. What's up, my friend? Pelosi loved Trump. Yeah, the articles of impeachment have been written. They're going to be handed out tomorrow, I think. Fox P2, 8 days left. Yeah, and I don't know if I'm happy. Well, I'm not happy about that. Anyway, Cultist 4, what's up? Tarai Deos, good morning. She who is at work. That's fine. Good night. Thank you listening in the background. Good morning, Aaron Meredith. Good morning, Selecta Boy.
Yeah, boy.
Also, good morning to All You Need, Ebony Williams, Saint Fugi, did I say Annalyn already? I think I did. Also, good morning to Bubba Hotep. And there was a couple new names down here that I can't find as I slowly scroll through. Good morning, Cynical Lindsay. Good morning, Attack Alpaca. This is Kyle. Jason Arnold. I hope that clown face wasn't for me. I don't feel like a clown. Advocatus Diablo, the Devil's Advocate. Jesse Leon, Chicago Mike. Maniac Man. Hey, what's up? You're back. Nice to see you again. Although you've been back for a little while. Also, did I get everybody so far? I think I did. Unless anyone else just popped in. Sarah, what's up? Lady Boomer says hello. She always tells me if you ever see Sarah on there, say hello to Sarah. Because Sarah sat through like a 6-hour live stream when we were driving to Omaha once. And so she has a special relationship with Sarah. Also, let's see. I got everybody. Is that about everybody? I'm getting close. I'm just scrolling down here. If I missed you, I will say hi again. Good morning, Richo, Lord Stanhope, and Jason Arnold. Oh, I already said Jason Arnold. Also, Zombie Teddy's at the house. And I think that's it for now. I'll figure it out. If I see you, I'll try to say hi. And I will, and Sarah, I will tell Lady Boomer hello for you. Also, good morning, Begali Monk. All right, let's get into it. Thank you, Tyler F, Bubba Hotep, Cynical Lindsay, and Maddie for tweeting out the show. You can do that in the Streamlabs, or excuse me, the arrow down there. You can share the show or do it on Twitter. Mine's Gab. And maybe Parler someday again, as soon as they figure out their situation. Although Gab is having trouble. Gab, it's interesting because they have a whole different system. Their servers are not in the United States, so they don't lose control. And they use kind of a blockchain system, so it's hard to mess with them. But they've had an influx of over 1 million new users in the last week. And so their servers are not handling it well. And so I noticed when I go to try to open Gab, it doesn't always work. Now, what's interesting about that too is Gab is the original one that the media and the other techno oligarchs have been trying to take down ever since they came about. They took away their payment processing. They had to move their payment processing to like Russia or something like that. They had to move their servers overseas. They've had to do all these things to be able to run. And it's not even a huge platform yet, although 1 million new people in the last week definitely makes it a challenge for their servers and how things go. But for example, I can't even get it to open right now. The only two that I can get to open were Twitter, which I'm still on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, but I don't use it. I have a personal Facebook account, and a PDawgKnight Facebook account, but I don't really use them. But I do post on Minds.com, and Minds seems to be going strong. And Minds, for some reason, has stayed under the radar of all these other platforms. None of the probably shouldn't say that too loud, but the techno oligarchs don't seem to have taken Minds, tried to take Minds out. And so it's interesting. And I do actually like Minds. I realize that it's actually probably one of the more versatile of the platforms, as far as being able to upload video, upload pictures and things like that. And its interface is actually pretty nice. And their mobile app actually works pretty good. So I would definitely recommend using Minds. I think I'm going to start using that more. I follow a few people on that platform, and I actually kind of like it. So I'm gonna I'm probably, I don't know about Parler, if that's now the interesting thing is Parler, though, is suing Amazon based on antitrust grounds. Now that's interesting. That I would love to see, because I would just love to see, because it's not like they're being banned from Twitter or from a platform. They're being banned. They've been removed from a server service. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Also, thank you, Chicago Mike, Mr. Scott, Tyler F. And by the way, good morning, Mr. Scott. I didn't see you in the chat, but I know you're here. Ex-Bubba Hotep and everyone else who tweeted out the show, and Sarah too. So there you go. All right. Mine keeps making me log in, even when I say remember me. Mine, you know what? Mine does not. I have it on my phone and on my desktop, and I haven't had that problem. I'm not sure why you're having that problem. Anyway, real quick, thank you, Gunfox61, for another donation through Streamlabs, who says, in most European countries, they are looking at making people get COVID passports. Also, FBI and police going after everyone that was in or near the Capitol building. Get your gulag number today. They can go after people who are near the Capitol grounds, but what are they going to charge them with? Honestly, really, the only people who actually broke the law, well, people who were fighting with police, and unless they have evidence of that, and people who went in the building. So there was, hundreds, I believe over 100,000 people in that area. But I don't know. What's my Mind's name? It's the same. My Mind's name is also at PDawgKnight, no punctuation. Is there a punctuation in my name on Twitter, on YouTube? I didn't know that. I never noticed there was. This is the first time I noticed that I had the period on YouTube. Well, no, it's at PDawgKnight with no punctuation. So just those same letters, leave out the period. All right, let's get into the news. And in fact, speaking of the German chancellor, and that was one of the big stories in the AP today. Germany's Merkel, Trump's Twitter eviction problematic. German Chancellor Angela Merkel considers U.S. President Donald Trump's eviction from Twitter by the company problematic, her spokesman said Monday. Twitter permanently suspended Trump. We already know that. Asked about Twitter's decision, Merkel's spokesman Stefan Siebert said the operation of social media platforms bear great responsibility for political communication, not being poisoned by hatred, lies, and incitement of violence, which I'm still trying to figure out how they're saying incitement of violence. Just saying, there was no incitement of violence. But they look, the dogs, all those dogs that hear every dog whistle, that's what they're going by. They make up their own interpretation about what he says. And it said, let's see, he said it's not right to stand back when such content is posted, for example, flagging it. But Siebert also said that the freedom of opinion is a fundamental right of elementary significance. This fundamental right can be intervened in, but according to the law and within framework defined by legislatures, not according to a decision by the management of social media platforms, he told reporters in Berlin. Seen from this angle, the chancellor considers it problematic that accounts of the U.S. president have now been permanently blocked. And then they just go on in this AP article about, what happened. But let's see. Did I do this twice? Hang on a second here. Here it is. Here's the legal insurrection version of the article. And they say problematic too. Politico covered the criticism of Twitter's decision by Germany's Merkel and other European leaders, saying Twitter's decision to suspend U.S. President Donald Trump's account and is pushing European leaders, including German Chancellor Angela Merkel, to stress the need to regulate social media companies. Oh, this could be interesting if social media companies start getting regulated in all these countries. But if you think about it, don't they already kind of get regulated in certain countries? Iran, China. Fascinating. The fundamental right of freedom of expression can be interfered with, but along the lines of the law and within the framework defined by the lawmakers, not according to the decisions of the management and social media platforms, government spokesman Stefan Siebert said. Same thing. Anyway, both those articles will be open will be in the tabs. This is another day where I think I have like 30 tabs open, and I'm not going to get to them all. But by the way, thank you, Gunfox61, for the donation. I appreciate that. In fact, I'm going to clap for that. Okay. So anyway, I'm not a particularly, Lord Stanhope, I'm not a particularly religious person, but I'm starting to think social media is the mark of the beast from Revelations. I have to think about that. Okay, you might be right. Anyway. All right, let's keep going because it's all about, here's the point though. Then I think this article makes the point very well, where big corporate uses Capitol riots to push communist-style social credit system on America. Yes, it does. It appears the global oligarchs have decided not only to collude with China's totalitarianism control over its society, but to export it, I should say, to formerly free nations such as the United States. We appear to be at the beginning of a massive crackdown of people who have supported Donald Trump, led by big tech and big media. These entities are making Trump into an example of their power to frighten the half of America that supported him in November. We cannot allow them to intimidate us. But they're sure trying on some, and on some they will succeed. They're using the excuse of an unrepresentative group of fools criminally ransacking U.S. Capitol offices with a lighter touch than many of this summer's often unpunished Black Lives Matters and Antifa rioters. Remember, some of those rioters got away with actual murder, attacking public buildings, including state capitals, arson, and stopping ambulances from bringing wounded police into hospitals for treatment. They were bailed out with the help of the incoming Democratic vice president. But now we are being told that an unorganized group of stupid people knocking down doors and throwing Nancy Pelosi's desk papers on the floor are seditionists, aiming for the overthrow of the U.S. government. One of the worst, most poorly organized insurrections I've ever seen in my damn life, but I digress. Please, that's giving them credit that they don't deserve. But they have provided a useful pretext for a much darker strategic action from much better funded and better coordinated powers. Again, notice those words, better coordinate. They coordinate. On the assumption, with the excellent track record that Republicans have lost all power and wouldn't intelligently use any power they have anyway, Twitter has banned Trump permanently and suspended Michael Flynn. Damn. Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat also banned Trump. Google and Apple banned the Twitter alternative Parler from their app stores, claiming because its right-wing agitators have used it to organize, which is false. Which is hilarious. The actual organization and people getting themselves ready for this rally in Washington on the 6th, that was all over Facebook. So maybe Facebook should just eliminate itself. But again, although the same is true of left-wing agitators, mass murdering foreign dictators, and apolitical criminals on Twitter, Amazon defenestrated Parler from its servers Sunday. And I don't know why they used this particular tweet. Don't tell me he was banned for violating Twitter rules. I get death threats here every day for many years, and Twitter doesn't ban anyone, not that I asked for it. Among the people who have Twitter accounts are cold-blooded murderers Putin and Maduro, and liars and thieves Medvedev. For many years, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram have been used as a base for Putin's troll factory and similar groups from authoritarian countries. Yes, they do. One of the Trump campaign's email service providers suspended the campaign's account. Yeah, I used to get emails from the Trump campaign all the time. I don't know why I signed up for their list. I just kind of do sometimes. I'll get on to, but they send so many goddamn texts. It was annoying. But anyway, according to Financial Times reporter Dave Lee, Shopify also banned Trump's official stores from the platform. The purge wasn't all limited to Trump himself. It's also pursuing his supporters. YouTube banned all videos discussing voter fraud. And what's funny is those are the videos of mine that were switched to limited monetization, which I don't really care. I don't get much money for monetization anyway. Facebook just shut down the walkaway campaign that shared the stories of people who left the Democratic Party to vote for Trump. Now that's that is just effed up. So they're just people talking about how they left the Democratic Party and they get shut down. And banned every one of the group's owners from using Facebook. So Brandon can no longer use Facebook. The publishers of the forthcoming book by Senator Josh Hawley cut ties with him over support for proving to the American people that our elections are free and fair. Yeah, you're not. And then this Abigail Shearer, you're not entitled to a book contract, can quickly become United doesn't have to let you onto its planes. Oh, I'm sorry. She's not being snarky. Yeah, look, can corporations ban you from flying just because you support a certain candidate now? She says you're not entitled to a book contract, can quickly become United doesn't have to let you on its planes. Marriott doesn't have to let you stay in its hotels. Visa doesn't have to let you use its cards. We've already seen that where different, this is another thing. For example, one of the PGA tournaments, they've banned the PGA schedules from using any Trump golf course, including the 2022 PGA tournament, the major one. They're moving it from the Trump golf course. Thank you, Bubba Hotep, by the way, for the donation through Streamlabs. Didn't the Chaz literally have signs saying now leaving the USA? Oh, yeah, that was actual sedition or something. I don't know if sedition or yeah, they did. Yeah, fuckers. Anyway, also the National Association of Realtors has revised its professional ethics code to ban hate speech and harassing speech by its 1.4 million members, both on the job and off. To them, hate speech includes basic conservative ideas, not at all actually racist or otherwise indefensible words. Quote, the sweeping prohibition applies to association members 24/7, covering all communications, private and professional, written and spoken, online and off. Punishment could top out at a maximum fine of $15,000 and expulsion from the association. Now, what's fascinating about that, if you're facing a fine, you're part of the National Association of Realtors. What? I'm confused how they can fine you for anything. Unless you screw up crossing the I's and dotting the T's. But a maximum fine for what you think? Are you kidding me? Police departments across the country have opened probes into whether any of their employees attended the Trump protest on January 6th. Attended? What if you were there for the speech and you went back to the hotel? Attended? This is Orwellian to the... They're not alone. Employers have begun firing people who merely attended the rally of hundreds of thousands, out of which a minority broke the law. Yeah, it was a mostly peaceful protest. I'll keep saying that until forever. The label of indie musician terminated their relationship because the label of an independent musician terminated their relationship because he posted that he had peacefully attended the Trump protest. A Wall Street Journal article documents the firing of a lawyer for an insurance company who posted on Instagram that he attended peacefully. Thought crime. Other such punishments for mere attendees at the Trump rally were reported and egged on Twitter, such as this one. Here's one. Kojina, our CEO, Brad Ruxdales, participated in the recent Washington, D.C. protests. Those actions were his own and not acting on behalf of Kojinsia, or whatever it is, nor do his actions in any way reflect the policies or values of our firm. He has been placed on a leave of absence while we assess further. And then the next person down here, Kojina should fire Brad Ruxdales or whatever immediately. Why? And this guy says, since Kojina doesn't want to immediately fire him, I think it's important to check and see if any of the insurrection planning was conducted on the company's servers. Insurrection planning? Get the fuck out of here. I would think if the CEO of the company is planning to overthrow the government, that company should maybe be punished. The notorious Never Trump group, the Lincoln Project, is launching a pressure campaign to ensure more such firings to purge leftist political opponents from all aspects. To launch a pressure campaign to ensure more such firings to purge leftists political opponents from all aspects of public and private life in the name of America. I want to be in America. Here's Steve Schmidt, a Lincoln Project co-founder. That piece of shit used to work for John McCain, using Twitter to do what he does best: organize and aim demonic flying Twitter monkeys. Right here. Project Lincoln will be running a brutal corporate pressure campaign targeting companies, trade associations, CEOs, directors, and senior leaderships of organizations that serve as the financiers of the authoritarian movement that attacked the Capitol. Motherfucker, you need to look in a goddamn mirror. And I went a whole bomb right there. Look in the damn mirror. Who's the authoritarians? Donations made to GOP leader or any organization he controls or any committee he controls will draw an action. We will hold these companies and people accountable in the public square. What public square? Oh, you mean on Twitter and Facebook? The public square that we're no longer allowed to participate in? GFY in capital letters written 3 times on your freaking forehead, you asswipe. Good morning, Cairo. How you doing, my brother? Holy shit. And James PFP, Fight for Your Life. How you doing? Nice to see you. Anyone else I missed? I'm sorry. I'll catch up eventually. And then well-funded groups like the Lincoln Project, Southern Poverty Law Center. Yeah. Remember I was talking about self-perpetuating, well-funded grievance grifter groups. And other leftist pressure campaigns are dedicated to earning money and status by destroying the lives of anyone who disagrees with their politics. It's excellent business. Schmidt has released tweets outlining many of his group's planned actions. A terrifying blueprint of the Cultural Revolution mindset ascendant among America's political left. Oh, yeah, but he's supposedly a conservative who just sees control of every branch of government. Steve Schmidt says, we will foment it. Project Lincoln, corporate America will have to make some decisions. Any funding to a political committee controlled by the seditious Kevin McCarthy, GOP leader, any committee that is funded Ted Cruz or Hawley will trigger a public campaign. Lot of chatter this week on K Street. He's responded to Jeff Stein. A lot of chatter this morning on K Street about whether there will be a meaningful consumer blowback against businesses who donate to 120 House Republicans who voted against certifying the results from the election. A constitutionally, completely and utterly allowed thing to do. In fact, I wonder if they're going to go back and look at the Democrats who did the same thing over the last 3 elections where Republicans won. Because they were there. They sure did. They voted to not certify the election. They objected. Are they going to go back and call these seditious Democrats who objected and call them out and look at this. And then he says, we will work to paralyze companies by instigating employee rebellions and undermining partnerships through advertising targeted at the CEOs, board of directors, senior management, and brands, etc. The financing of autocratic movements is a choice. You are the autocratic movement, you dumbass. Holy shit. Can you say extortion? It's freaking extortion. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that this guy doesn't see what he is. He needs to read his own tweets and go, am I the baddie? Pension funds can impose accountability. We will help them find a way. Okay, this guy's, because this is Jonathan Alter, another asswipe. This is hugely important, but Project Lincoln cannot and should not do it alone. Shareholders must let companies know en masse that they will now allow corporate PACs to give to insurrectionist candidates. 17 AGs and 157 members of Congress. Not just in 2022, but forever. Please target the big banks as well. Some of the banks have already said they're not going to donate to certain people. Then we got, who's this? Stedman. Already this creepy lust for punishment has Reddit users revealing their plans to turn family members into the FBI for attending the January 6th protest, regardless of whether these family members committed any crimes or merely, like the vast majority of peaceful protesters, walked peacefully in D.C. streets. And this is before the carrot or the stick, turning your family into the FBI for free and feeling like it makes you a better person. FTW. Unbelievable. And then this asswipe, Ida Bay Wells, a.k.a. N. Hannah Jones, who wrote the 1619 Project. The reckoning needs to come to the media, too. So they just want to shut down everybody. In a January 8th blog post from Mozilla Chairwoman Mitchell Baker declared tech companies need to do more than deplatforming people like Trump, including turn on by default the tools to amplify factual voices over disinformation. Oh, they get to choose what is true and not true. Isn't that great? I'm so glad that the chairwoman of a tech company can decide what's true and not true. Like those Twitter and Facebook used to interfere in the 2020 elections. Yeah, absolutely. They interfered in the 2020 election. And And the credit card companies are doing it. And here's, I want to skip down though. This all moves us closer to a non-governmental social credit system like that employed in communist China, which economically and socially punishes people for wrongthink. It appears that global oligarchs have decided not only to collude with China's totalitarian control over society, but to export that social control to formerly free nations such as the United States. Consider these companies' vocal support and use of Chinese slave labor in their supply chains versus their nuclear retaliation against Trump saying words they don't like. Then consider that they still distribute propaganda from foreign leaders who foment global instability by mismanaging COVID-19, then lying about it, China, fund terrorism, Iran and Russia, and confine millions of minorities in slave camps, China. These companies give mass murderers, global villains, and slave traders a platform while denying one to their arch enemy whose worst crime is saying mean, imprecise, false, and stupid words while not being a Democrat. Of course, the Chinese government censors cheered them on. This is a Chinese state media account. Even U.S. president accounts could be suspended due to serious risks. This shows freedom of speech does have a boundary in every society. No country is capable of guaranteeing absolute freedom of speech. The lack of such capability is regrettable. Kiss my big black ass. God damn. All right, so you read what I didn't read in that article later because I got to keep going here. Thank you, X-Bubba Hotep, with the 5 spot. And X-Bubba Hotep, well, first, Gunfox, I gave you one. Oh, well, now X-Bubba Hotep.
You are the new Streamlabs Superstar Donor of the Day.
Thank you for the 5 spot through Streamlabs. Orwell, it was a warning, not a goddamn guidebook, you lunatics. Oh, isn't that the truth? That is absolutely true. So this one from the American Thinker. I'm only going to touch on a little bit on each of these articles, but they'll all be in the bookmarks when I get done. I'll put them in both the description down below and on the Discord server. If you're on Discord, I dropped a link to the show and the links to all the articles, whether I get to them or not, in the general tab on Discord. President Trump takes a hit for the team. I can't remember why I booked. There was a particular line I marked this for. This is basically just how Trump, from the time that he decided to come down that escalator and run for president, threw this out as president. This is about what Trump accomplished. And I'm not going to read this one, but I put this, it's called President Trump Takes a Hit for the Team. And how, let's put it this way. Trump is the first president in modern history whose net worth went down while he was president, not up. That should tell you enough right there. But I'm going to skip that one. That's not the one I wanted to talk about. This one from Robert Spencer, though, that I had yesterday. I don't know if any of y'all read it, but I am going to just touch the beginning of it here. Fascism comes to the U.S. Sounds kind of harsh, doesn't it? Sounds like a harsh thing. And no, it's not the people who were at that the Trump speech that are the Trump speech that are the fascists. The destruction of the freedom of speech in America today is being carried out by the leftist establishment that dominates the political sphere, the social media giants, the establishment media, the educational system, virtually everything, really. The left is using the Capitol riot of January 6th as its Reichstag fire moment to criminalize, silence, and destroy utterly not just President Trump, but all Americans who still dare to oppose its sinister woke totalitarianism. In doing so, leftists are revealing themselves for all their rhetoric about how Trump and his supporters are fascists to be quintessential fascists themselves. And they're being the, you know how we talk about classic liberalism? Well, they're kind of classic fascism. I'm going to use that line on Twitter. I have to. This fact is all too often waved away by those who insist quite correctly on one level, they're not fascists, they're communists. The National Socialists of Germany strongly identified with Mussolini's fascists in Italy and brawled on the street with the communists. Hitler made his determination to destroy communism in Europe a centerpiece of his agenda. So many assume that leftists today, carrying the banter of Antifa, an organization that was born in the 1920s street fights with the National Socialists, could not possibly be fascists. Yet, they can be, and they are. Contrary to what many believe, being a communist and a fascist is not a contradiction in terms, unlike being a Republican, Democrat, or an honest journalist. That line cracks me up. Communists and National Socialists were bitter enemies in Weimar Germany, in large part because they were competitors in the same arena. In the late 1920s and the early 1930s, they were the two major German parties that wanted to destroy the Weimar Republic and impose authoritarian rule. They just disagreed over who would be in charge. They disagreed about they disagreed about more than that as well, of course. Marxism is based on total government control of the means of production, where National Socialists, although they flirted with this idea in various ways for years before coming to power, allowed for private enterprise. However, this too was not a large gap between the two, as many people assume it to be. Hitler biographer Peter Longreich notes that 6 months after the seizure of power with its various upheavals, Hitler had reached a deal with German businesses, according to which their authority within their enterprises was increased in return for an agreement to submit to the overall direction by the state. The people who don't want to alter the 230 laws, now I don't think they should be repealed, but they definitely need to be altered. But there's people resisting that because they have an agreement between some of these politicians and the corporate techno oligarchs, right? Sound familiar, huh? The deal between Hitler and the German business titans was one of the principal reasons why his regime is called fascist at all. The word fascist comes from the Latin fasces, is known as bundles, usually bundles of wooden rods. It might seem at first glance to be an odd name for a political movement, but the idea was that the disparate forces in society were bundled together in a unity of purpose and allegiance. Thus, for the ancient Romans, the fasces were a symbol of governmental authority, and from that, Mussolini took the name of his movement. In ensuring that private businesses could remain private but had to work for the good of the state. Oh, does that sound familiar? As a whole, and under the direction of the National Socialist government. Hitler was bundling together the titans of business and unifying them in the service of his agenda. Bundling the titans of business and unifying them to service his agenda. Are the titans of business being unified to serve an agenda? So it is today. The social media giants and their leftist government elites, the swamp that has reasserted its hegemony by installing old Joe in the White House, are working in lockstep. The government doesn't own the social media outlets, and it doesn't have to. Whether big tech is submitting to overall direction by the state or the state is submitting to overall direction by big tech, the outcome is the same. Every major force in American society is marching in the same direction. While dissenters are stigmatized, demonized, framed for crimes they didn't commit, silenced, and isolated. Thus, we are seeing in the last days, what we were seeing in the last few days with the banning of the President of the United States from the main means of communication today, and the unity of purpose between the media, big tech, and the Democratic Party in propagating the big lie that Trump incited violence and attempted a coup on January 6th, is fascism in action. And if the fascists aren't stopped soon, what we've already seen will be just the beginning. Now, that last line, just for the sake of YouTube, is a quote, not me saying that. Just don't hurt me, YouTube. Don't hurt me, you freaking assholes. And then, and on the same line of thought, big corporate use. Oh, I'm sorry. I already did this one, didn't I? I opened this twice. Sorry. All right. Let's move on though. And now let's get some examples. There's several examples I pulled up that kind of show you how this is going. How this is all going in a certain direction. Marriott and other companies vow to suspend donations to politicians who voted against Biden's certification. Now, these are all companies that give to both parties fairly. Let's just put it this way. They like to bribe both parties, so they spread the money around. Well, there's a few companies that are no longer going to spread the money around if people didn't do what they were told. Marriott, Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, Commerce Bank, and other companies vowed to cut off money to the politicians who voted against President-elect Joe Biden's certification after the riots. Riots on Capitol Hill. Marriott, the world's largest hotel chain, said last week's chaos at the Capitol caused the company to halt campaign donations to lawmakers who voted against certifying the Electoral College results of the President-elect Joe Biden's win. A fresh sign of corporate America's uneasiness with the violent attacks inspired by President Trump's words. This is the Washington Post talking, just FYI. The Blue Cross Blue Shield Association said it would do the same. The provider of health insurance. Anyway, we already know this. The rabid group Lincoln Project plans to attack all companies who donated to the 138 Republican representatives and 8 Republican senators who voted against Biden. We already saw that. They're going to launch their what should I call their attack? We have a name for this thing. The Lincoln Project is doing. Brown shirt action. I don't know. Anyway, they're going to go paint yellow stars on all these. I should not use that type of analogy because I hate it when people use that. This is nothing like, well, it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm going to move on. Now, these private businesses have a right to take these actions, but could it backfire? Public citizen government affairs lobbyist Craig Holman described the moves as something very new and could potentially alienate an important base for them. So yeah, they might get some blowback, but you just never know. Moving on, ruling class. This is one from yesterday. If you already read this, you may have read this. This was in the tab yesterday. George is too short for the stormtroopers. Yeah, right. This one. Okay, so the point of this article, the Don challenged their power, the ruling class's power, the establishment's power, and now they're extracting their revenge, whether fairly or fraudulently. He's been defeated for re-election, but that's not enough. Now his legacy must be destroyed, his supporters crushed. The ruling class is determined to ensure that no form of Trumpism or any challenge to their authority ever rises again. And Ancient mythology holds that conquering armies would salt the earth of beaten civilians. This salting was a curse to forestall any future rehabilitation. It was meant to ensure that a beaten civilization would never again challenge the victor. The beaten were to stay beaten. We've reached the salt the earth stage of the ruling class's victory over the Trump movement. Democrats are demanding that President Trump be removed from office via impeachment or the 25th Amendment just 2 weeks before the end of his term, starting tomorrow. Twitter has banned him for life. Representative Joaquin Castro from Texas has even submitted legislation to prohibit federal buildings from ever being named after Donald Trump. It's not enough that he was defeated for re-election. He must be humiliated. There's even a report that a U.S. attorney is conducting a criminal investigation into whether Donald Trump incited a riot with a speech on January 6th. That's going to be like... what's that? The stairs that go up to the Tibetan castles or whatever. That's going to be a steep climb. The threshold for a charge of incitement is extremely high, and there's nothing in that speech that. You have to be very, very explicit. There's nothing in his speech that even comes close to the threshold for incitement. But anyway, is it so unbelievable that Donald Trump could be indicted after leaving office? Yeah, no, they're going to try in New York State too. Isn't it alarming that an indictment for making a speech is even conceivable, but after seeing him impeached for a phone call, doesn't seem incredible, does it? As for his followers, they're going to get theirs too. We're seeing that the coverage of the January 6th Capitol protest, in the coverage, it's being billed as an unprecedented, violent assault on our democracy. Not that the Capitol was occupied in November of 2018 too. But it was occupied by a whole. They had an important cause, so they could occupy the Capitol. But whatever. Anyway, but there's nothing unprecedented about it. Violent protests torched Washington, D.C. on the day of Donald Trump's inauguration with never a single word of condemnation from any Democrat. This is the ruling class working in conjunction with their propaganda ministry to create a narrative that Trump supporters are all unhinged lunatics. And since they're all unhinged lunatics, the flight attendants union is now demanded that everyone in attendance on the January 6th protest be placed on a no-fly list. And in fact, one guy came up against that, but he was one of the people who got caught in the Capitol. Why is it not disturbing to everyone that this would even be considered a reasonable response to a political protest? The ruling class's message is clear. Challenge us at your peril. I'll leave the rest of that one to you and move on. And this is interesting. So apparently, let me just leave that on the screen for a second. Good old data. Anyway, left-wing billionaires turn to for-profit corporations for giving. The move allows them to avoid disclosures associated with nonprofit organizations. So they're cheating by, look, so here's what they're doing. And I'll just read the first couple of paragraphs. Liberal billionaire donors are exploiting a new way of funneling millions of dollars to left-wing political groups. In 2015, Facebook founder and Democratic donor Mark Zuckerberg set up a limited liability corporation and moved millions of untraceable dollars to leftist groups. Under the LLC format, he may legally spend unlimited sums in support of Democratic politicians, lobbying groups pushing for radical policies, and far-left activists who advocate for reforms that hurt election integrity. This marks a radical departure from most mega donors' use of tax-exempt nonprofits to fund political groups by sidestepping the IRS disclosure requirements and the ban on an election intervention faced by foundations. So he's found a workaround to give as much money to political causes as he wants and not have to disclose it. You just have to read the rest of this. It's it's a little bit scary, and they need to find a way to close this loophole. Because he could personally basically spend unlimited expenditures on whatever he wants without disclosing it. And anyway, also I'm going to leave this one here. Someone sent me this speech yesterday, Pompeo's speech to the Voice of America, and in fact, some people at Voice of America were a little upset about this because they said it was propaganda. But anyway, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo railed against big tech censorship, reaching new heights this week as authoritarianism cloaked as moral righteousness. Hey, right on, straight up. We're all part of institutions with duties and responsibilities higher and bigger and more important than any one of us individually, Pompeo said at the Voice of America after decrying, after decrying the government employees for protesting his appearance. But this kind of censorial instinct is dangerous. It's morally wrong. Indeed, it's against your statutory mandate here at the Voice of America, because he was being protested by some of their employees. Pompeo continued, censorship, wokeness, political correctness, it all points in one direction. Authoritarianism cloaked as moral righteousness, similar to what we're seeing on Twitter and Facebook and Apple and on too many university campuses today. It's not who we are. Let's see, is this the same?
Today, I read that some VOA employees didn't want me to speak here today. I'm sure it was only a handful. They didn't want the voice of American diplomacy to be broadcast on the Voice of America. Think about that for just a moment. Look, we're all part of institutions with duties and responsibilities higher and bigger and more important than any one of us individually. But this kind of censorial instinct is dangerous. It's morally wrong. Indeed, it's against your statutory mandate here at VOA. Censorship, wokeness, political correctness, it all points in one direction: authoritarianism cloaked as moral righteousness. It's similar to what we're seeing at Twitter and Facebook and Apple and on too many university campuses today. It's not who we are. It's not who we are as Americans. And it's not what Voice of America should be. It's time that we simply put wokeism to sleep. And you can lead the way. You all know. That's why you came here. There's a new dawn here at Voice of America. The American public doesn't know this, but when Michael took office, some 1,500...
Okay, he stops. I was stopped there. Yeah, his remarks came after the Voice of America staff complained ahead of Monday's address that their network would broadcast remarks from the chief diplomat of the nation's funding their salaries. Yeah, they protested Pompeo, but and then let's see. When you look at this article, it's talking about different platforms that are currently restricting Trump. But he had harsh words against big tech, also following escalating collusion between the companies, deplatforming competing voices that dissent from their dystopia world order. Once the clock hit midnight on Monday, Parler went offline. We know all about this. I don't need to go to that. So, but anyway, yeah, his full speech. I might have the link to that too. In fact, let me. Someone sent me that yesterday. I'll put the link of that full speech in my. I think Picado sent me that. Yes, he did. Okay, I'm going to put the entire speech in my bookmarks so that you can, if you want to see his entire speech. It's a very good speech.
He mostly followed.
I actually tried to listen to it twice, so it'll be in the bookmarks. All right, let's keep going here. Now this is interesting. So, one of the representatives in the House of Representatives has tested positive for COVID-19. Apparently, a second lawmaker, because apparently when they went into their lockdown, one of the lawmakers, after the breach of the Capitol, the riot or whatever you want to call it, one of the Republican lawmakers got tested for COVID and was found positive. And there's a big uproar because this guy wasn't wearing a mask and blah, 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 and he's around all these people, whatever. Well, a second lawmaker in the lockdown has tested positive. And that would be everyone's favorite squad member who nobody knows her name, Pramila Jayapal from Washington, a second Democratic member of the House who was forced to go into lockdown during last week's violent siege at the U.S. Capitol. Anyway, tested positive for COVID-19. Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat, Washington, said she has tested positive and criticized Republican members of Congress who declined to wear a mask when it was offered to them during the lockdown. Quote, "Too many Republicans have refused to take this pandemic and virus seriously, and in doing so, they endanger everyone around them," Jayapal said, only hours after President Trump incited a deadly assault on our capital, our country, and our democracy. Many Republicans still refuse to take the bare minimum COVID-19 precaution and simply wear a damn mask in a crowded room during a pandemic. Now, Bonnie Watson Coleman of New Jersey tested positive prior to that. Now, let me just show you something interesting here. Do I have this up? Let's do this. We'll let's move over here. Let's see. We're going to go on to twitter.com. And I have a bookmark that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's see. This is a tweet by one of my friends, RB Pundit, who asked the question, "Hey, Pramila Jayapal, this you?" See, can you see we're right here? She's the one who's complaining that the Republicans cruelly refuse to wear masks. This looks like. Does this look like her? Does this look like Pramila Jayapal? It really looks like her, and this is during the so-called siege. What's missing in this picture of Pramila Jayapal? Oh, she's not wearing a mask. Oh, cruelly refused. She must have cruelly refused to wear a mask. Oh my gosh, I wonder if that other representative got it from her. What's the other representative's name? Bonnie Watson Coleman? I wonder if Bonnie Watson Coleman actually got COVID from Pramila Jayapal. I wonder, because she wasn't wearing no damn mask. Republicans cruelly refuse to wear masks. Tucker Carlson, his monologue kind of explains what's happening. Where is it? Oh, it didn't. Oh, shoot, it never came up. Here it goes. I can't remember how. This is worth listening to. I'm just going to leave it open because it looked like it'd take a little time to load here. Oh, here we go. How long is Tucker's?
You've been known to run the numbers on your operation, so try.
I don't want to hear the ad. He has a pretty good summation of what's going on in America right now, and who knows? They if the Lincoln Projects of the world and the Hate Watch or whatever, they have their way, Fox News won't be on the air much longer anyway. Plus, Fox's ratings are in the crapper anyway right now. But here we go. Oh, this is 60 minutes long. Let's just hear
last week, in case you weren't watching. We denounced the violence we saw in the clearest possible terms. We did it for one reason. We are totally opposed to political violence.
Yes.
We said that virtually every night for the past 6 months since the riots that began on Memorial Day. We meant it then, we mean it now. Every person who broke the law last Wednesday should be prosecuted. Vandalize a building, hurt a cop, go to jail. That's our position. That has always been our position. This show is for law and order, period. Many of those currently in power are not. They believe instead in selective enforcement. Selective enforcement is not law and order. It is the opposite. Laws must be applied equally to every citizen, or else they are not laws. They are the whims of a tyrant. Punish the guilty, spare the innocent. That is the most basic definition of justice, but that is not what's happening now. The crackdown on civil liberties we've watched over the past 5 days amounts instead to collective punishment. People who had nothing to do with the violence in the U.S. Capitol are being punished for that violence. And that is repugnant and immoral and anti-American. It should shock our sensibilities. It shocks Alexei Navalny. Navalny is the Russian dissident who was poisoned last year, apparently by the Putin government. He's watched the recent crackdown in this country by Joe Biden and his allies in big business and big tech with growing concern and then horror. Here's his conclusion, quote, "We have seen many examples in Russia and in China of such private companies becoming the state's best friends and enablers when it comes to censorship.
Yep.
This precedent will be exploited by the enemies of freedom of speech around the world," end quote. So even in Russia, they know what's happening here is dangerous and it's wrong, because it is. In the past 5 days, PayPal,
but Russia. Oh, this is the one that worries me.
which keep in mind is supposed to be a payment processor, not a political party or a law enforcement agency. PayPal suspended the account of a group that paid for Trump supporters to travel to Washington last week. Now, it's not clear that any of these people participated in illegal acts. We do not know. But they were shut down anyway for their political views. It's not an isolated case. It's happening all over. It happened to performer Ariel Pink. Pink made the mistake of listening to the president's address on Wednesday. Pink says he didn't get anywhere near the Capitol. He went to his hotel and fell asleep. And no one has suggested otherwise. But for the crime of attending a political rally, Pink was punished. He was promptly dropped from his record label. He's done. Now it's possible he might not be able to fly on airplanes. A flight attendants union has demanded banning all, quote, insurrectionists from flying commercially anywhere in the United States. So the question is, and everything hangs on this definition, what's an insurrectionist? Well, according to a letter from Democrats in Congress, it is anyone who sympathizes with what happened on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Think about that. Now, you can oppose what happened at the Capitol, and for the 15th time, we do oppose it loudly, have, and will. And you can still see this development for what it is. It's terrifying lunacy. But no one is pushing back against it. Instead, the biggest corporations in this country, the ones that control your checking account, the ones that control your health care, whether you live or die, have decided to radically expand the definition of what is now illegal.
And not, what is it, illegal on paper, just what they determine to be wrongthink, or even just being in the wrong place with the wrong ideas. Anyway, I'm going to I'll leave that in the bookmarks. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I really want to get a couple more in here. Also, a talk radio company that has Dan Bongino, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro. They've demanded that these radio hosts can no longer talk about certain subjects that shall not be named, or they will drop them from their lineups. It's called Cumulus Media, the talk radio company that works with conservative figures such as Mark Levin, Dan Bongino, and Ben Shapiro, has issued a warning to its host. They will have a zero tolerance policy against, quote, dog whistle talk, end quote, or election disinformation. Who determines the dog whistle talk? Who determines what is election disinformation? According to the New York Times, Brian Phillips, an executive vice president of Cumulus, sent the stern memo on Wednesday, the same day that a pro-Trump mob rampaged through the halls of Congress. Addressed to employees working in the company's programming and talent divisions, including those at its syndication arm, Westwood One, the memo's first section appeared in bold typeface. Ooh, they were serious. The memo begins by saying, quote, "We need to help induce national calm now. Cumulus and Westwood One will not tolerate any suggestion that the election has not ended." It continues, quote, "The election has resolved. There are no alternate acceptable paths. Please inform your staffs that we have zero tolerance for any suggestion otherwise. If you transgress this policy, you can expect to separate from the company immediately. There will be no dog whistle talk." You know, only dogs can hear dog whistles, by the way. "About stolen elections, civil wars, or any other language that infers violent public disobedience is warranted ever." As if they said they were warranting violent disobedience. So there we go. Another one and another one. Oh no, this is just a social media parlor keg after its assault on Parler. Big Tech is asking for it. Now I'm curious how much power and money the Big Tech has can save them from what's going on. Although here's something interesting. Twitter's value dropped. Get this, by $5 billion in the last week. Their overall value, their overall stock value, $5 billion. Anyway, the left could have let the rest of us, the left could have let us rest for a year. They could have celebrated defeating their nightmare boogeyman with their mindless zombies and his token minority second, or his mindless zombie and their token minority second, and controlling all three tiers of government. They could have mocked and maligned us on television, film, and social media all night long, and we wouldn't have cared less. We wouldn't have whined or whimpered like they did for the last 4 years. We would have gone about our richer lives, attending to our family, friends, and faith. Then after a year, looked into replacing the Democratic Marxist rabble and their Republican enablers with conservative candidates who would resume making America great again. I would have focused almost entirely on the culture war in prose and fiction, trying to strengthen our side, but they couldn't do it. Their Silicon Valley overlords just had to come after us all at once, attacking our lines of communication, Twitter, Facebook, Google, which they control, and Parler, which they don't. So to quote Michael Corleone, Al Pacino, in the otherwise god-awful Godfather Part 3, "Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in." The following famous rule for following the famous rule for radicals laid down by Rahm Emanuel before he became Chicago's worst mayor until the current one, Lori Lightfoot: never let a good crisis go to waste, even a fabricated one. Twitter began the purge. They used an ignoble assault on the Capitol building by splintering a splintered group of pro-Trump protesters as an excuse to permanently ban Trump from its site. The president never called for violence. 5 years of his rallies inspired not one incident, and he decisively condemned the instigators, as did every conservative vowing to prosecute them. 500,000 peaceful protesters who went to Washington to support Trump and demand a good accounting of the murky 2020 election were completely ignored because the big tech hounds were out for virtual blood. Twitter also banned some high-profile Trump defenders such as Sidney Powell and Michael Flynn, while purging countless followers of conservative stars, including former Ambassador Richard Grenell, comedian Terrence K. Williams, and actor James Wood, none of whom once encouraged violence. But Democratic leaders who did, like Nancy Pelosi, I don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and Ayanna Pressley, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives, are still on Twitter, belying the platform's stated virtuous motive for erasing conservatives. Oh, even Maxine Waters, go get in their faces. You see them in a restaurant, you get in their faces, and you don't let them sleep. You don't let them have any comfort. Twitter only started the media feeding frenzy. Other companies jumped in over the weekend. Facebook banned walkaway campaign founder Brandon Straka. Simon & Schuster canceled a contractual book deal with Senator Josh Hawley for leading a completely constitutional challenge. Got to remind you, a completely constitutional challenge in the 2020 election. Forbes chief content officer Randall Lane warned his underlings against hiring former Trump staffers like White House spokesman Kayleigh McEnany. Don't let chronic liars cash in on their dishonesty. And CNN media chief correspondent Brian Stelter lobbied cable television providers to deplatform Fox and Newsmax. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. I never want to see you in my house again. No, go fuck yourself. Brian Stelter. And it showcases a level of hatred that has never had total reign before, and they cannot help marinating in it. Even the left-wing American Civil Liberties Union blasted Twitter and Facebook for the Trump ban, decrying their unchecked power. When you're too radical for the ACLU, you may have gone too far left. This is a great article. I'm not going to finish it, but that gives you it gives you lots of examples and goes on. But I need to get a couple more things in here that I wanted to. So we already talked about the National Association of Realtors ban on hate speech and conservative ideas, which is ridiculous. And then just more articles on why this purge is just the beginning. Talking about all the different things that have happened as far as bannings. Let me close this one. What was this one here? Oh, this is rich. I'm getting into some other news besides the censorship stuff, but this is rich. So apparently, suddenly, Andrew Cuomo, the angel of death, the guy who killed all the old people in New York and for whatever reason decided to write a book about how great his COVID response was. After forcing thousands of businesses to shut down, Cuomo now says the cost of staying closed is too high. The ADL, they're also the grievance grifting organization. After forcing thousands of businesses shut down, with some closing permanently, Democratic New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said the cost is too high to remain closed much longer. Duh! We simply cannot stay closed until the vaccine hits critical mass. The cost is too high. We will have nothing left to open, the governor tweeted. We must reopen the economy, but we must do it smartly and safely. Well, you know what? Go ask Governor DeSantis how he did it. It's so funny because the media has been all up in DeSantis's grits as if they've done the worst job of anything, and they still have half the rate of deaths of New York, and they're doing better than California. They're doing better than the other big states, and they've been basically open for quite a while now. That they've had some setbacks, but still nothing like New York. Can I say jag off on Twitter? Or YouTube? I don't know. But yeah, we simply cannot stay closed until the vaccine hits critical mass. Oh my God. And as recently as December, Cuomo announced that all indoor dining in New York would be banned, claiming the risk associated with this practice was too high. Data from the governor's office, however, showed that restaurants and bars have led to 1.4% of all COVID-19 cases in the state. Now, what's interesting, I think I bookmarked this simple-minded fool's text because the responses to him, yeah, I did right here. 33,000 responses to him. Now, he got ratioed, but not all for the reason you think he got ratioed. Some people laughing about it. Oh, found Trump's alt. They're saying it's like Trump's alt account. So Trump was right again. This picture is from Manhattan this weekend. Two wonderful immigrant owned this store. Hard workers who worked 7 days a week. Store closed. Trump hacked his account. Did Trump hack Cuomo's account? Copycat. Now the funny thing is though, some of these people close this state down now, tax billionaires to pay for austerity, Andy. Because there are people out on in this thread replying to him, telling him that he needs to tax all the rich people to get the state back to running, to get these businesses back up. These businesses aren't coming back. Barstool Sports has done more to help businesses out that they're trying to get through this than Governor Cuomo has. We've had 3 kids hospitalized at my school while remote. Guarantee the number goes up when they're in person. I feel like we're allowing acceptable losses for the sake of money. You know what? No, you don't want more people to die. You want fewer people to die. More people are dying because of the lockdowns that are dying from COVID. More people are committing suicide. More are having drug overdoses, alcohol-related problems, psychological problems. It's crazy that you have this idea. And this guy says reopening has failed. Cases are surging and new and more infectious strain of the virus are here in New York. Where has reopening failed? Where has reopening had worse results than having people stay home? Give me the data, because I'm not seeing it. Either there's no difference or the states that have opened have done better. And it's particularly compared to New York. Are you kidding me? Anyway, let's see. So anyway, you can read the rest of that on your own. It's time to go. Yeah, here's Twitter loses $5 billion in market value after banning President Trump. I think that deserves a woo. And part of it, between the 70,000 accounts they've closed, and they've lost probably 500,000 users in the last week. People have closed their accounts, things like that. I don't know what Twitter's formula is. If they ever want to make money, I don't know that they do. And then here's a good article too about we're about to find out who our real friends are. Just talking about how, let's see. Just about how, you got to be careful what you say around your friends. Even some of my fellow coaches were, we have a group chat for our fellow coaches, and they're all excited about, the fact that they're going to impeach Trump and stuff, and talking about how this stuff in Washington was going to be a shit show and all this. And I'm like, oh, they don't know that I'm not, I'm not a lefty. Some people I do tell that start talking that way, like I said, you realize that I am a Republican conservative, right? And, I didn't know that. Well, why? And then people ask me, and then I'll sometimes I talk about it. Most of the time I don't. And I don't know. Republican, I don't know if I should say Republican. I'm a conservative. I'm registered Republican this last several election cycles, but I'm not an establishment Republican by any stretch of the imagination. I'd like to get rid of some. I'd like to see some swamp draining myself. Be honest with you. Anyway, Alton Huxley, Brave New World, talking about warning about totalitarianism in the 21st century. That's another good article on the American Thinker. Let's see. Let's just go through some headlines now. This one, oh gosh. So the artist Sabo has some people on the left completely in shambles over the fact that he made this poster of Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Bobbitt. It's pronounced Bobbitt, even though it says Babbitt. In fact, here we go. This is from Twitter, the say her name poster. Now, obviously, this has people just fuming. Black people shot in the back or while sleeping are not the same as a white woman shot in the front while storming our Capitol. Black people shot in the back or while sleeping. Oh, Breonna Taylor? She wasn't sleeping when she wasn't shot in the back. Her boyfriend shot at police and they returned fire and accidentally hit her. It was an accident. Okay, there's not that many replies to it. That's kind of weird. But people are mad. Where's an investigation on this? I'd like to follow. Please tweeting information if you can. You know, here's the thing. Obviously my feelings are mixed on this. It's do I think she should be dead? No. Do I think she should an unarmed woman should be dead? No. Did she play stupid games in a place where she absolutely should not have been? And I have a hard time seeing this officer prosecuted. He's doing his job, even though it sucks that this went down the way it did. So while I feel awful that this woman's dead, she got caught up in a moment, and that unfortunately, unfortunately she is dead because of getting caught up in that moment. And whether or not the officer gets prosecuted or not, I'm having a hard time. I mean, if his job is to protect the people in that building, it's I'm sorry, that's kind of just where it goes. And it sucks that she's dead, but she put herself in a very unnecessary situation. Just saying. By the way, thank you, Selected Boy, for the $2. Oh, you did it again too with no message. Well, that's okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll get a bell for that. In fact, you get a second bell because you did it twice. I see the second one coming up here. Thank you so much. I appreciate the donations. The other articles that are left before I go, House to meet Wednesday morning to consider Trump impeachment articles. They're supposedly already drafted and should be in the House on Wednesday. But the problem is the Senate can't take it up till the 19th. And I don't know. I don't know if there's a provision in this Constitution that you can impeach a president after they're already out of office. You can't remove them. So I'm not really sure, and I don't think they're going to get 2/3 vote anyway. So they're wasting some time and money on stuff just because they hate Trump so bad. It'll be interesting to see how this one pans out. Democrat introduces a resolution to censure Representative Mo Brooks for inciting acts of insurrection. Oh, is it Debbie Wasserman Schultz? Yes. Democratic representatives Malinowski and Wasserman Schultz, Florida, have introduced a new resolution calling for the censure of Alabama Representative Mo Brooks for inciting acts of resurrection at the Capitol last week. Malinowski wrote, I've introduced resolution with Schultz to formally censure Congressman Brooks, who on the morning of January 6th incited the crowd that attacked the Capitol, endangering the lives of his fellow members of Congress. He added, in a follow-up to, the threat from these violent extremists remains ongoing, and many of my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, fear for the safety of their families. Congressman Brooks, however, remains unrepentant. This will not be tolerated. Now, I'm trying to figure out what the hell Brooks said or did. Here, let's see if we can see the resolution. What do they specifically say? What the hell he said or did that they're bringing this resolution on him specifically? Let's see. Okay, whereas Representative Brooks, he spoke at the rally, said to participants in the rally, today is a time of choosing and tomorrow is a time of fighting. So today is also a day of revelation and a separation. Today, by their votes, the Americans will learn which Republican congressmen and senators love their bourbon, love their cigars, love their prestige, love their personal power, love their special interest group money more than they love America. Whereas Representative Brooks then exhorted the audience, "Today is the day America patriots start taking down names and kicking ass." Yeah, that's a metaphor. Whereas participants in the rally then proceeded to march the United States Capitol. No, they didn't. They didn't march to the Capitol after Representative Brooks said. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, well, we'll see where that goes. That might pass because it's in the House, and all they need is a majority, I think, to censure somebody. I don't know. Maybe it's more than that. All right, whatever. Let's see. That's Brooks here. That's Brooks. The last three, Trump rally speech was not illegal incitement. Prosecutor Jeffrey Scott Shapiro. The president didn't commit incitement or any other crime. I should know as a Washington prosecutor. I earned the nickname protester prosecutor from the anti-war group Code Pink. Yeah, you can read that. That's a legal insurrection. Also, some House Democrats realize another impeachment is a bad idea. This is a great article. Just a few who were like, what the hell are we doing? But the leadership's going to go through with it. Then a Breitbart article about Representative Cori Bush introducing resolution to expel lawmakers who incited a white supremacist coup attempt. Now, when she says that, she doesn't mean like Representative Mo Brooks. She means expelling every Republican lawmaker who voted to not accept the electoral votes. So 140. She wants to expel 140 members of the House. Good luck. You could read about that one. Also, by the way, you probably heard of, what's her name? What's the lady's name? Her name is Susan Rosenberg. Susan Rosenberg. Now, you know Jerry Nadler, the head of the Judicial Committee, right? Well, in 1983, Susan Rosenberg was part of a group that bombed the Capitol building, and she went to prison. And Representative Jerry Nadler got President Clinton to pardon Susan Rosenberg, who planted a bomb outside the U.S. Senate chamber in 1983 and tried to assassinate Republican senators. So that's interesting. A lot of people are bringing this up. Now, I guess this is only important if it's kind of a what about argument, but it is a strong one on precedent for what we do for people that do this kind of stuff. And just interesting. You can read the article there. And then finally, I'm putting Maddie's article in the tab again about the 25th Amendment. It's a very good article, and I didn't get to it again today. But read the whole thing because it's very good. Leave that in the tabs. It'll be there right after the show. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. I'm actually way past that time, so I got to go. But hey, thank you so much for being here. Thanks everyone with the donations and all the talk in the chat. It's fun to have you in there. And yeah, we are up to 56 people today. Before you go, if you're still here, before you go, right down there, hit that thumbs up right over there. Hit the thumbs up. And if you can, share the stream out. If you're watching after the fact, leave a comment in the comment section. And donation information. If you want to donate to the channel, that's great. You can do it through Super Chat, Streamlabs in this description down below, or what is it? Well, while you still can, Cashapp and or Venmo if you'd like to do that. But Streamlabs works 24/7 too. And then you do that through PayPal or a direct credit card. Direct credit card doesn't take as much of your money though. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. I gotta go. My name's PDawgKnight. And I'm out of here. Oh, bye-bye.
Hey, this is PDawgKnight, and thank you for watching today on the PDawgKnight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below.
And I'm out of here.
I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell icon afterward so you'll be notified when I post a video go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through the Streamlabs link, which is also in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm PDawgKnight, and I'm out of here.